Alright, it's been a couple days since I made a video, so I'm going to, I've basically just been very busy because we're completely focused on basically just finishing the money button, everything that we have to do to be able to put this thing in production. So I'm not going to vlog about ZeroCon for tokens or anything like that today, and I might put that stuff on hold just because I can't really think about other things besides just finishing and launching the money button. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys the status of the software because it actually looks pretty cool right now. So it's a good time to show off the current status of what the software actually looks like. And I can explain some of the details about how the software works. So let me slide this thing out of the way here. So I'm currently on the documentation page. So this right here is our sort of, you could call it sort of a test index that lets us just easily access all the various projects we're working on that'll end up being merged into the main UI. So let me actually start by showing you this thing right here. So this is the React Money Button demo, and this shows you the actual button itself. So the button is being designed. So the button and all the UI work is being designed by Aerolab, and Aerolab has done an excellent job with all the UI work. So you can there you see it in action right there. That's pretty cool. So that's what it looks like. I'm going to refresh the page. I want to do it again. Let's see. So you can cancel. Here, let's see what happens when I cancel. Cancel. And let me do it again. So this was very thoughtful. Like, why are we doing it this way? Because the money button is not simply a button. We're doing it in a very specific way because paying is a little bit more than just pressing an ordinary button on the internet. So when you actually send money, you want to have a high level of confidence about what's going on. So you want to know, for instance, that you're not going to accidentally click the button or tap the button, somewhere without intending to. So that's why we made it a gesture, and that's also why there's the opportunity to cancel. So if you change it, whoops, I didn't mean to do it, you can cancel, all right? And then it gives you this length of time or whatever to do that. So anyway, yeah, that's basically so that's the current version right now, and that's the rationale for why it's dragging basically. It'll end up being a little bit more configurable. We'll have some colors and sizes and text options and whatnot soon after launch. Although at launch, I think we're going to be pretty focused on making sure we have at least one version of it available. There'll probably be two versions actually. There'll probably be a version where you can see the price on the button, and then there's a tipping button where you don't see the price on the button. And then that'll be limited to something low, like $1 or so. Okay, so anyway, so that's the button itself. So let me go back here, and I want to show you something else, though. Actually, I can show you maybe a couple other things. We'll see how much time I have here. But the next thing I want to show you is, here, not that, the docs for the React Money Button, because this explains a lot about what the money button is, if you're technical anyway. So we figured out a really cool way to use the money button. So this is part of the coolest part of the money button is just how ridiculously easy it is to use it if you're a developer. If you're not a developer, you'll probably want to install our WordPress plugin or maybe copy and paste code, probably install the WordPress plugin. But if you're a developer, we're going to make it really, really, really easy. So we have this project, React Money Button. We might change the name of it before we launch, but that's what it's called right now. And this is basically it. Like, it's a React component. So if you've ever programmed in React, this is amazingly simple that you can literally include a payment system in your app this easily. That's it. Like, where does the money go to, what amount, and what's the currency? And we support every currency, fiat currency and cryptocurrency. And that's basically it. Now we have a bunch of other advanced options here. So you do not have to sign up to use the money button, but a lot of things don't work unless you do sign up. So the two can be either like an address or a user ID. And then we have all these different options here, like, like op return data. So you can put some op return data in the transactions if you want to. We also support somewhere here, let's see, button data, outputs. So outputs is a generic list of multiple outputs. So we actually let you control all of the outputs. So it's not just like sending to one person. So this is really useful because this lets you do all sorts of advanced things, including if you wanted to, you could actually remake yours.org using the money button by using multiple outputs, because we use multiple outputs for the voting model. So you can pay other people. So when you press the button, it's not necessarily paying like the website that you're on. It could be paying other people. It could be paying other users. I won't explain all these things. You can just glance at them and guess what many of these things are. Now, another interesting thing here is the callback. We figured out a way to make the callback work quite securely, although I can't remember if we figured out how to do it 100% securely in a web browser. And what that means is basically you type in a callback function here so that when the payment goes through, you can respond to it and do something. So that's just an important property. And we realize you can do it almost completely securely inside of a web browser. And the catch is something like you can respond to it graphically, like in the web browser. So when the user makes a payment, but you'll need to check that it's actually valid, because the user could actually like fake a callback. So you can't really fully trust the in-browser one, but we also have a server-side one. But by using the in-browser one, which we figure is a good way for people to make MVPs of apps, it's ridiculously easy to use this. So you just add another method, another property here to the React component that's just a callback. And then so that's how you respond to like when the payment happens, what do you do? Okay, so that's all I really want to explain right now for that. Let me go back. And I'll show you one more thing just so you can see sort of the status of this. So we're going to look at the status of the UI for like the app, because there are a bunch of different components here, including the button itself is just like part of it, but also like we have a normal wallet here. And so I want to briefly explain some of the properties of the wallet, because we already have a working prototype of the money button, but we realized we needed to do two things. Number one was redesign all the UI, including the button itself, to make it friendly for normal people. And then we realized, because that was going to take a while, that we should really take this opportunity to improve the wallet itself. So we ended up making a genuine sort of BIP39, BIP44 wallet that conforms to all the standards that most wallets conform to, including multiple addresses. Because if you're familiar with yours.org actually does not let you have multiple addresses. So we figured out how to do multiple addresses in a scalable way, because some of our prospective customers actually have tens of millions of users. And so we wanted to make sure that if we actually were successful in getting one of those customers, that it would actually work. So we had to account for what happens when users have a huge number of addresses or a huge number of UTXOs. And all the software has been designed so that that works. Okay, so anyway, with that background in mind, this is the wallet basically. So the main app is basically a wallet. So this is mostly not finished yet. Technically, the wallet sort of back-end software, which includes a lot of client-side stuff and server-side stuff, is mostly finished, but we haven't hooked it up to the UI yet. But you can see how thoughtful the UI is in every way. And it's not finished, obviously. So you don't take this too seriously. You're just seeing a sort of very much work in progress here. But you can see that we're putting a lot of thought into it. Like it's animated and everything, and all the colors and everything have had a huge amount of thought and effort put into choosing things correctly that can be understood by normal people. So it's obviously not finished, but you'll see this fill in the next 4 or so weeks. I think it's like 3.5 weeks that we think we'll be able to finish everything and be able to launch this thing. So that's it. I think that's really all I have time for right now. I'm not going to show everything else, but now you've seen what it looks like at the present time and what we're busy doing. We're going to finish all this software. So it's primarily a UI problem at this point. So we have most of the back-end software, and by back-end I mean like back-end on a server, but also back-end inside the web browser that makes it possible. So that stuff is mostly finished, and mostly it's a matter of finishing the UI and connecting the pieces to the rest of the software. So we think we can get that done in about 3.5 weeks and launch the next version of it. We'll then have to iterate quite a lot. Like we won't have everything finished by then, but we'll have a lot finished by then. And so probably during the month of September, we'll be finishing everything else. It'll not quite be complete at launch, and so we'll spend another month or so doing things like adding a few options for the button and sort of fleshing out a lot of the UI that won't quite be totally finished at launch. But anyway, that's the status of it. So I hope you like that, and I'll probably keep giving more status updates about the money button rather than ZeroConf and tokens, just because it's really we need to kind of defer the tokens and the ZeroConf stuff until after we actually launch this thing. So anyway, thank you for watching.